All right, let's talk Astera Labs. Today, we are diving deep into their latest earnings call. We're going to unpack the numbers, their strategy, and what it all means for one of the companies building the absolute backbone of the AI revolution.
You know, when we think about investing in AI, everyone's mind jumps to the big, flashy chip makers. But what about the stuff behind the scenes? The essential plumbing that makes it all connect and work. These are the picks and shovels of the AI gold rush. And frankly, that's where some of the most interesting stories are.
And that's exactly why we're looking at Astera Labs today. They're a huge player in this connectivity space, and their latest earnings call was just full of juicy details. So to get our heads around it, we're going to use a classic SWAT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, pulling everything we can straight from that call.
Okay, first up, strengths. And based on their third quarter results, wow, this is an area where Astera Labs is just firing on all cylinders. The numbers here are seriously powerful.
They didn't just beat expectations, they absolutely blew them out of the water. They posted revenue of $230.6 million. That's way above what they even guided for, which tells you demand is red hot and they are executing like crazy.
And it's not just the big number, it's the speed of the growth. I mean, look at this. Revenue is up 20% from just last quarter. But get this, it's up a staggering 104% from the same time last year. That's not just steady growth, that is just explosive acceleration.
Now here's the best part. This wasn't some one-trick pony. Management made it super clear on the call that this growth was broad-based. It came from all their key product lines: Scorpio, Aries, Taurus, the whole shebang. In fact, their newest tech, PCIe Gen 6, already makes up over 20% of their revenue. That shows you how fast customers are jumping on their latest and greatest stuff.
But here's what might be even more impressive. It's one thing to grow fast, right? It's another thing to do it profitably. And man, oh man, are they profitable. They hit a new company record with a non-GAAP operating margin of 41.7%. They're not just growing the top line, they're making a ton of money doing it. So, with that kind of powerhouse performance as our starting point, let's pivot and look at the future. What are the opportunities ahead? The earnings call actually laid out a really clear multi-year vision for where the growth is going to come from.
Okay, a huge piece of their future comes down to this thing called ULink. So what is it? Think of it like this. If AI accelerators are the supercomputers, ULink is the brand new ultra-high-speed fiber optic network connecting them all together, letting them talk to each other almost instantly. It's purpose-built for the massive AI clusters of the future.
And what's great for investors is that the company isn't being vague about any of this. They laid out a super clear timeline for when these new technologies are going to start making them money. They're expecting their next-gen Scorpio switch to ramp up in 2026, then the first money from ULink solutions in 2027, and they're already planning their move into optical connections after that. It's a long-term plan.
So just how big is this market they're chasing? Well, according to the company's president and COO Sanjay Gajendra on the call, they see this whole scale-up opportunity as being worth tens of billions of dollars. That's the potential prize here. It's absolutely massive.
This slide really shows you the strategic shift they're making. Right now, they're the kings of copper connections, which are great for linking things up inside a single server rack. But AI is getting bigger, way bigger. It needs to connect across whole rows of racks. And that's where optical comes in. It's the future. And their plan to acquire X-Scale Photonics shows they're already making their move.
Okay, but it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? No company's perfect. So now we have to do the hard part. Read between the lines of that earnings call and figure out the potential risks, both weaknesses inside the company and threats from the outside.
So we've kind of sorted the risks we could pull from the call into two columns. On one side, you have internal risks, right? Things like customer concentration, meaning they depend on a very small number of huge customers. Then there's potential pressure on their amazing margins and the fact they have to keep spending a ton on R&D. On the other side, you've got external threats, like competing technologies, and the simple fact that their customers' big projects can get delayed.
And look, they're not hiding from these risks. When an analyst on the call pressed them about relying on just a handful of giant customers, the COO basically said, yeah, that's the price of admission in this business. He called it an occupational hazard. So they know it's a risk, but it's baked into their model.
All right, we've seen the good, the bad, and the big potential. So let's put it all together. What's the final takeaway for an investor looking at Astera Labs right now?
So let's boil down our whole SWOT analysis. It's really a story of two sides. On one hand, you have absolutely elite execution and tech leadership in a market that is just on fire. On the other, you have that serious customer concentration risk and a super competitive landscape. It's a classic high-growth, high-risk tech story. So here's the bottom line, as we see it. Astera Labs is one of the purest picks and shovels plays you can find for the AI boom. They are essential. But, and this is a big but, you have to weigh that amazing story against those very specific risks, especially that customer concentration.
And really, it all comes down to this one single question that you, as an investor, have to answer for yourself. Is that massive, multi-billion-dollar growth opportunity in front of them big enough to make you comfortable with the risk of them having so many of their eggs in just a few baskets? That's the decision.
And of course, we have to end with the important stuff. Just a quick reminder, this analysis is for educational and informational purposes only. It is absolutely not financial advice. We're just giving you a framework to think through their earnings call, but please make all your investment decisions with a qualified professional. Thanks for tuning in.